Welcome, everyone. Hope you are excited about today's event. I am Eric Christopher, Managing Partner at Newswire.net, and today we're going to be conducting a live interview about an exciting new technology startup. And the company is called HotJar, and it appears to be the up-and-coming web usability tool of the future, and we are excited to have the incredible founder and CEO here with us live today to do a review, a HotJar review and a HotJar demo. And we've got none other than the amazing Dr. David Darmanin. Hi, Dr. David, how are you?
Hi, David is fine. Thanks for having us, Eric.
You're very welcome. So let's just get down to the brass tacks. Can you tell us a little bit about you, your background, and how HotJar got started, or how this all came to fruition?
Yeah, I think that's a good start. So I'm actually a lawyer, which is kind of a weird fact to start off with. But during my, let's say, legal study years, I actually worked as a designer to get through, let's say, the weekend fun expenses. So that was an awesome experience. I ended up actually graduating as a lawyer, decided to work in design and marketing because that became my passion. But as time progressed, I've always been driven to understand how to make designs really work and how do I optimize these designs. So inevitably, I ended up in conversion rate optimization. So with some really big companies generating hundreds of millions of dollars for them. So and during that time, with my background, especially as a designer for marketing, let's say I was frustrated that I didn't have the right research tools at place. Using them was a little bit frustrating. So finally, with being an entrepreneur at heart and having tried a lot of projects, I brought together a team from some really talented people I've worked with over the years, and we decided together to do HotJar, which is basically that. So a set of tools that allows designers and marketers to visually analyze their sites and understand why their visitors are doing what they do and why they're not converting.
Very interesting. So you're not just a lawyer, but you're a doctor as well?
Well, actually, yeah. That's why I said David is fine, because actually, it's a doctorate in laws. So I'm not a medical doctor in any way. So if there's an emergency, don't call me.
You're a doctor of law. That's awesome. Well, let me ask this question: what was the inclination to call the business HotJar? Is there a particular reason why you came up with that as a brand?
That's a good question. We're still in this, let's say, if you look at our site, we're focused on the early access thing, right? So I think our brand still needs to develop. We're going to bring out the message behind HotJar very soon. But the whole idea is we were looking for, obviously, a short, memorable name that really connects with kind of the message we're bringing across here, which is analyze, understand your visitors. And we thought, what would be a better way than to reference hot? And by hot, we're kind of emphasizing the speed at which these, let's say, insights are delivered to you, and the fact that they're extremely actionable. Heat map kind of connects with that. So it's kind of that hot element. And the jar kind of represents the transparency which we give you, so you're basically able to look at the insights in the jar in a very easy way. But as I said, eventually we plan to have some fun with developing the brand as well.
Awesome, interesting. So, so who can benefit from HotJar? Obviously, you had mentioned that web designers, marketers, and not only why can they benefit from it, but what does the tool really do for them? What is the benefit of using the HotJar web usability tool?
Question. I'd start actually by answering the opposite of the question, which is who is it not for? So HotJar is definitely not for your enterprise client. It's not for a slow-moving company. That's not who we built it for. We built it for fast-moving organizations, especially startups who want to really quickly understand what's going on, small to medium enterprise companies that are looking to change the way things are done. Our insights are generated extremely quickly, and that's the whole idea. We want to be really lean, iterative. And we've built the interface and the toolset with a specific user in mind. We don't believe in building something for everyone. So our focus is specifically designer, marketers, so what I call the web geeks, which is basically people like me and you, if you know what I mean. So that's our core focus. But yeah, we also have at heart the let's say the small store owners that are online. So the guys that are using Shopify, BigCommerce, Illusion. So yeah, so we want something simple, lightweight, very easy to use, very fast. That's basically our core.
And so with that being said, what are the primary benefits or features of using HotJar? Why would a marketer or a website designer want to implement HotJar into their organization?
So there's two sides to HotJar. There's the analytical side and there's the feedback side. So in fact, we call it internally it's a visual analytics and feedback tool. So when we talk about analytics, it allows you to understand or at least interpret data in a very easy way. And then we talked about speed, so in a fast way. So a click heat map, a scroll heat map, mouse move heat map very quickly allows you to identify where users are engaging, what they're interested in, what they don't care about. So to give you an example, we mention unlimited on our homepage now, but we noticed no one is engaging with that in our heat maps. So that's already led us to de-emphasize the unlimited, and we're going to change wording in another direction. So that's the visual analysis. Besides heat maps, we have stuff like visitor playback, so you can see your visitors actually using the site. You can see funnels, analysis, understanding where they drop off. So visually understanding very quickly what's going on. But we know that that's not enough. So it's pointless to have nice eye candy imagery, but if it's not super actionable, if you can't connect that with something else, it's not going to really lead to actual actionable results. So besides that, in the suite we also included a set of tools which are feedback oriented. So we have polls, so in-page polls, so you can ask a question very quickly and get an answer. We have surveys that you can use with your actual users. We allow the recruitment of user testers, so you can spend some time with your users and understand how they use the site. And finally, chat, so that two-way idea of quickly jumping on a page and understanding, okay, people are not clicking or not going towards unlimited. Let's ask them some questions. Let's understand what exactly is the appeal. What are they interested in?
So, obviously doing a little bit of investigation and having discovered your site, really almost on chance, it was actually, we discovered your site in a forum and just kind of follow the paper trail. So I would like to put the HotJar founder in a little bit of a hot seat and ask a few questions. So part of the value proposition that you encapsulate in just a really simple image on your homepage is that you demonstrate what you would maybe call other competitors who offer different tools or different benefits or features that your tool offers, and so there's like 6 different organizations or companies that offer a tool, and you're saying you've integrated it all in one and you've reduced the cost by like 1/10 of the cost if you were to go obtain those tools all separately. So obviously, you guys are comparing, so what's the comparison of Crazy Egg versus HotJar? I mean, obviously, HotJar is offering heat maps. Is there anything that is there anything that you feel like it's as comparable or better than HotJar, or sorry, better than Crazy Egg, or how would you answer that?
Yeah, I'd say in our comparison, we are highlighting obviously the difference, but the focus is you feel that you shouldn't use our competitors, but there are definitely different ways of doing things. So you can either have multiple tools installed on your site with a lot of different snippets of codes, or you can have one simple code at a very simple, affordable rate, and HotJar does it all. Are there trade-offs? Of course. So as I explained before, our vision, our specific user we're building for, we know that they don't need all the features and all the kind of different options that some of these tools have built up over the years. And the reason being is that some of these companies are focused on building one specific tool, and they've really taken that to the max, developing features and plans so that they can optimize revenue. And we're taking the opposite view, which is let's take, you know, the 80-20 rule. Let's really take the real core of what's important when you think about visual analytics and feedback, and let's deliver that in a very simple way. And that's the HotJar way. So simple, lightweight, gets the job done. No need for a lot of fancy, complicated stuff. And in a way that also kind of connects a lot with our view of we're not interested in working with enterprise or slow-moving companies, because these are the companies that are going to ask for all these advanced, complicated features that you really don't need. So that's our vision, basically, and that's why we made the distinction between the two different ways.
Very cool. So, you know, a lot of people, companies, you know, use ClickTail for visitor playback. So comparing ClickTail versus HotJar in your visitor playback, is there anything that you would say that gives you any kind of competitive edge, or anything that's unique, or going back to your philosophy of streamlining, what's the 80-20 of that feature?
That's a very good question. I've used pretty much all of these tools in the past quite extensively, and to be quite honest, although we understand them very well, we're not exactly at HotJar. Our mentality is not analyze the competitors, copy them, or that's just not what we do. So in reality, we've built what we believe is the right feature set which you need, so just enough for you to get the job done. I think we're doing some clever things that some people are going to be surprised about, which currently we haven't seen yet. A lot is yet to come. So, but we're definitely not followers. So, although some people might think that with the comparison we've done, but I think we have bold plans to disrupt the market, not just from a plan and from an accessibility point of view, making it affordable for everyone, but I think even from a technology point of view, there's going to be some interesting surprises.
So one of the questions, just as a potential user, if I was to implement this, is that obviously it kind of combines like basically the streamlined kind of nuts and bolts of what you need to do a few different major functions on your site to help collect data, like you said, on the analytics side, but also getting feedback on the user side. Have you experienced during the testing you guys been doing any confusion as far as to implement what when, and how do you guys address that for the user? Like, how can this one tool integrate and do all these kind of functions and integrate? Is that what makes you guys proprietary?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say the way we've done it is, again, it all comes back to the simplicity. So if you look at the interface that we currently have, it's really extremely simple. So it allows you to deploy multiple tools at one go with one script, so it's all integrated. And as you can imagine, that's going to put us in a position later on to connect the dots. And I think it's the connecting of the dots which potentially is going to be extremely proprietary in the future, because when you can connect the data from both analytics and feedback in one area, that becomes extremely powerful.
All right, very cool. So speaking of the user interface, I mean, this might be unexpected, but is there any opportunity? We understand that right now you're in a private beta testing phase, and you're in a process of currently launching here in the next week into a open public phase. But is there any possibility that with our viewers or people who might be watching this later, that they could actually get a quick demonstration or a HotJar demo of your product and the user interface, or at least some functionality of how it works currently?
Sure. I actually saw that possibility, or the possibility of you asking that. So I've prepared at least a quick view of the way our heat mapping works. So that's kind of a small taste of what is to come. It would be, I think, unfair to, we have actually quite a big waiting list for people to use the product, so I think it would be unfair to show maybe too much, because there's a lot of curiosity. So since the launch is on Monday, we definitely want to kind of stick to our promise that no one is going to see it before the people who are kind of in the top of the waiting list. But I think it's easy for me to give you a quick taster, so I'm just going to do some screen sharing here.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I think it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure if it's your doctor skill set or your lawyer skill set that would have anticipated my asking a specific question about a demo.
Well, at the end of the day, I'm here to show you the product, right? So if I'm not prepared with that, that wouldn't be a good sign.
Sure.
Brilliant. So yeah, in actual fact, this is what we sent this week over to all the people who are in the waiting list to use HotJar. So we just gave them a quick animated GIF of kind of how this works. So in essence, HotJar is, again, it all comes back to our focus on simplicity and speed of getting the insights. So what we've done here, actually I'll take one step back. So it's extremely easy to create a heat map report. So you just click create, you give it a name, put in a URL, save and close. And basically what that gives you is a report which there's pretty much no delay. So as soon as you start collecting data in our servers, they're automatically populated into the report. And basically what you get is something like this. Now, what's extremely different than the way we do it is that we know we live in a responsive world with multiple devices. So what we've done is the report basically splits the page views you have so far into different devices. So in essence, from a heat mapping point of view, you're really seeing what your users see depending on their device. So right here, we're on XL large desktops. At the click of a button, I can switch to desktop. That gives me an idea of what that looks like. Obviously, here the sample size is smaller because we don't have that much traffic on smaller devices, but it just gives you an idea. If I switch to mobile, where we have a little bit more traffic during the snapshot period, you can see taps. So it's extremely quick. With a click of a button, you switch to the scroll. You can easily see till where visitors have arrived. And again, very quickly, switching between different areas. You can see the move map, gives you an idea of how people have been using the site. Extremely fast, extremely simple, yeah, and very actionable. And this is what we were talking about, unlimited not getting a lot of action. So it's actually interesting because then we've also run a survey, had some really interesting results, and we basically saw a parallel between what we were seeing in the heat map and the survey explained why people are not which is basically, and I can say it because it's part of our offering, our users are much more excited about the fact that we've connected so many features into one dashboard. They're really excited about having that central bird's eye view rather than the fact that it's unlimited. And when I say unlimited, we have one simple plan, and basically with that one simple plan, you have unlimited users, unlimited sites. It's really, truly unlimited. So you can invite as many colleagues, friends, or whoever you want to share your data with, and you can add as many sites as you want.
One thing that that I find really interesting, having had a chance to see the interface for the first time, is that I think another unbespoke benefit is that you can actually go in and get an idea of what your site might look like on various devices. Like there's a lot of people who have devices or websites that aren't designed very well for tablets or smartphones, and there's a great easy way that they can at least get an idea or a bird's eye view, as you put it, overview of what their site will look like on different devices. So I think that's a really interesting benefit, and I think that the average fold is also a good qualitative feedback for a website owner. So that looks very exciting.
Yeah, I think you raise a very good point, and in fact, quite a lot of work went into this, like what we call screen grab kind of technology that we have running here. So yeah, I think you're right. It's more than anything, it's always about telling a story, right? And I think internally as a team, whenever we discuss and we look at what we've generated, we've gone through so many iterations of these visuals. We always say, does this really give a story? What's the story that this is telling us? And if we feel that we're not telling a story to the user, then we need to fix it, basically. So that's our top priority.
Very cool. That's very interesting. So obviously you're in a private beta stage. You're going into a public beta stage, and one question I want to ask is, like, do you have any data or results that you can share any specifics or generalities that you can share as far as how development's gone? Is it going according to plan? What do you foresee the beta process being like? Can you just iterate a little bit on that or expound on that?
Yeah, I think so far everything is going to plan, which is we're quite surprised. So far, so far everything's going well. We don't believe too much in planning, but we believe in having good lines in the sand, because planning at the end of the day is really guesswork. So we believe we're very iterative. We really believe in the concept of lean. So iterations, improving constantly. But our line in the sand was the 1st of September to deliver at least the core functionality. I believe we've done that. There is just one feature that we're not making available on Monday, which is form analysis. And the reason is we're just not happy with that yet. So we believe in keeping our users waiting just a little bit more and delivering the right stuff. So rather than delay the beta, we decided that we would make it available and then deliver these features later on. In a way, there's so much to process, so that gives them time to look at that later. And then at the same time, chat, that was always the plan, not to include that on our public beta. So we see chat as phase 2. It's quite a big, let's say, big challenge. We look forward to it. We have most of the technology already built, but that will come later, again, because we don't want to disrupt too much of the user experience right now. So we want to get the core done and then move on to chat. Interesting that obviously we need to practice what we preach, right? So a lot of our decisions are driven by the tool that we've built. So, for example, we ran a survey, which we were looking at before, and we asked our users, what's the one feature you're really looking forward to use the most? And based on that priority, so we had about 320 responses, so statistically quite, let's say, representative. But based on the list of responses, we've actually built our development backlog. So we're building to the plan that our users gave us, essentially. So features are prioritized based on demand.
That's very cool. That's excellent. So one of the things that really caught our attention, and one of the things that we felt like this was a really newsworthy story, is the kind of lean startup methodology that you're using to build interest and expose the world to the HotJar system. And that's your interesting word of mouth. I'm calling it a word of mouth program. A referral program for this beta launch. So can you explain a little bit more about how you conceived that concept and how well it's executing, and also how would you compare it to maybe some of the normal things that other companies would do in terms of marketing online, and if it's been better or worse?
Yeah, I'd start by giving just some small background. HotJar is privately funded, so the advantage we have is that we don't have any big shareholders that are kind of expecting to extract a lot of revenue. We believe in HotJar, and we're putting our money into it, so ourselves. We're basically a group of, I'm the main founder, but there's another 4 excellent, really talented guys who are basically co-founding it with me, so they joined in the adventure. So we're financing it ourselves. So we're lucky enough to be able to do that, and that put us in a position to kind of also have the time to do it right. But we also realized that it does put at a big disadvantage. Reason being is that our vision is to be disruptive. We're saying HotJar is going to have a very low cost, no complicated plans. If you have a little bit more page views, we charge more. If you want 2 sites, we charge a little bit more. It's just one flat price. So obviously there are disadvantages. So we knew that the only way for this to work is if we could leverage word of mouth. And at the end of the day, while we were building the product, even though we were very close to finishing it, we knew that the best way to really evaluate kind of whether we're on the right track is to go out there and kind of pre-sell it. And it's interesting because during my years working in conversion rate optimization, there's quite a few very famous copywriters. And when I say copywriters, we're talking the big heavyweight, I call them salesmen in print guys. So these guys know how to sell anything. But they advocate this. They actually advocate sell. If you can't sell it before you build it, then kind of it might be better just sell it before you build it. So we didn't want to do that. So this is not like a smoke test or anything. We actually built it, but when the time came for this to kind of reach out to the world, we decided let's kind of do an early access program where we also give the opportunity to smaller organizations to get a lifetime free account, so if they reach really high in the list, or to get some other perks, such as a 6-month free account if they refer 5 friends. So the whole idea was, let's give something back to what we call the sneezers, so the people who are the early adopters and are going to spread the message. And at the end of the day, it's a great way for us to gauge how potentially successful this can be. And we're extremely satisfied with the outcome. We built the system in-house, so it's kind of a waiting list queue thing. And as I said, the more friends you refer, the more higher up you go, the quicker you get access. And we're extremely satisfied. If anything, we're now holding back from pushing it too much, because we have a few users that are actually frustrated and saying, I want this now. You promised me this now, I want it now. And we're like, okay, but we're building it, we need to make sure it's okay, and we agreed on this date. So, but obviously we don't like keeping people waiting, essentially. So we're very lucky to have nearly reached 20,000 people on the waiting list. So it's basically, it's proof that there is a need in the market for this, and I think it's quite exciting for us to see that we're actually building this for an audience that's already out there waiting to use it.
Well, it's kind of like what, in essence, kind of Apple does, which is create a hysterical frenzy about the launch of the next or their new product or upcoming release or improvement of one of their existing products, and people are basically waiting in line. So in essence, what you've done is found a creative way to get people to stand in a virtual line to be able to get entry into the presentation, the HotJar show. And I think that's a fantastic concept. And so I would assume that this has been a lot more effective and cost-effective for you than using traditional marketing channels, even online.
Yeah, it has. This has been extremely effective. In fact, to be quite honest, we didn't expect this to happen. So this was never the plan. But I guess with great things, this is always kind of the way it turns out. You usually can't plan for it, as we said before. So, we didn't expect it to happen. We're very happy that it happened, but we never kind of anticipated that we would have thousands of people kind of in the waiting list. So, in a way, we also say thank you for your patience, and I take this opportunity to thank them, and we're doing our utmost to bring the product to you as quickly as possible.
Well, I just have a couple quick questions, and then we'll wrap this up, Dr. David. One is, and I know people are, everyone's skeptical about, the claims that companies make. And so just me as a person who's visited your website, and, or anybody who's like, look, you can't possibly be building this awesome product when all these other companies are charging for page views and users and accounts and website usage. I mean, is it really, truly an unlimited usage product for this low cost? I mean, how are you able to systemize that process to be able to accomplish that? I mean, is it really unlimited?
That's a good question. And the answer is pretty much twofold. Part one, we already talked about it. It's not a product which is built for enterprise, huge companies. So if they want to join the HotJar movement, so be it. But we're not specifically targeting them. Second of all, we did some very clever things in the way the software works, which makes it still actionable, but we're not putting super load on the user server and our server. So let me just give you a simple example. Some of these tools, or at least other tools available in the market, they, for example, capture all visitor playback sessions. So basically, you're collecting a huge amount of data, which is extremely difficult to process and become actionable. The way we've built it is that you selectively go out and get the stuff that you really need in small batches. So that makes it even more actionable and less costly from both a visitor point of view. So if I have a site, the impact of our script is negligible, but still you're adding a slight weight to the site. And from our point of view, it's a very clever way, let's say, to deliver the product for cheaper. Having said that, we're also in the middle of a hosting war, right? We're in a data war. We have Google versus Amazon that are essentially lowering the prices of bandwidth data. But the problem is that this has been happening for a few years now, but the providers whose biggest cost is this hosting have not lowered their prices, obviously. So we felt that this was even more an interesting opportunity for us to do that. And then finally, at the end of that, we have some really, really clever developers on the team, and they're doing some, let's say, really interesting optimization stuff when it comes to the way we process the data, collect it, and store it. So this is the key to what makes it possible. And believe me, we've done a lot of homework, because remember, I'm putting in my money into this. So we've done our homework, and yeah, it's absolutely possible. The key is, with any innovation, with any disruption, is to think what's not possible and make it possible. So that's what HotJar is about, basically.
Excellent. Excellent. So can a user who's using it, if it is using what you're saying, where it's taking segments of data, I'm assuming that you have something in the system to actually make it somehow statistically significant, so it's not like, hey, here's a handful of people. You guys have accounted for that?
Absolutely. So when it comes to heat maps, there's basically sampling. And just so this is clear, when we talk about sampling, it means with a heat map, we saw there a snapshot of 2,000 page views, right? And we know that with 2,000 page views, you pretty much have a very stable visual analysis of what the page looks like. Beyond that, your heat map is just going to actually become even more noise. So by taking these snapshots, it makes it much actually better to understand quickly what's going on. And what's mostly important, we give you unlimited snapshots. So you can take as many snapshots as you want. But the whole key is that you take snapshots before, after, different segments, different pages, and do that kind of comparative stuff. When it comes to all the other functionality we have in the tool, so if we're talking about funnels, form abandonment, polling, survey, all of that, there is no sampling. So that is full data. And then we do also have plans in the future that if a company says, listen, let's eliminate all this sampling stuff, we just want to go give us full data, then we'll definitely find a way to accommodate them.
So in essence, a value proposition is that you've distilled into your HotJar all the data that might be extrapolated, and be confusing for people in terms of real-world application, like how do we actually use the information, so that you don't get caught in analysis by paralysis. And you've distilled it into the HotJar and made it simple for basically people to implement it and create actionable insights that help their websites to sell. Is that a good summarization?
That's absolutely correct. But just so it's clear, statistical confidence doesn't even play that big a role in this, because when you're collecting, so we looked at before, I'm switching back to our heat map here. When you look at basically what's going on here with, in this case, 1,652 page views, it's instantly going to give you where you have the main activity. It's automatic, and whether this is 2,000 page views, 10,000, it's not going to make a difference. Essentially, you're looking at the same results.
That's awesome. So I think that we're kind of concluding here the interview. One question I do want to give you an opportunity to answer is, are there any secret things that you want to reveal, any development stuff that you're working on right now? And what is the long-term objective for HotJar and its disruption process? Like, what are your long-term objectives as well for this concept?
Well, long-term objectives, it depends from what point of view, I guess. So we obviously want to make HotJar pretty much a standard when it comes to visual analytics. So we don't see ourselves as competitors to analytics, as some of our competitors do. we see ourselves as the perfect companion to analytics. So we definitely see ourselves as becoming the pretty much standard way of using Google Analytics and then HotJar together to really understand what's going on with your site. That's kind of the long term. From a development point of view, I'd say we pretty much want to keep some new stuff a little bit inside the jar for now. But yeah, as I said, there are some interesting stuff coming up. Perhaps we'll have to do another interview.
Yeah,
perhaps we'll have to do another interview in the future.
Well, maybe we will. As a matter of fact, you are opening up for a public beta launch, right? And I guess part of the reason is that you have your private beta, and you want to respect the people who are participating in the private beta. Would it be possible to do a follow-up interview, or maybe on launch day on Monday, that you could actually do a live demonstration, because that's like the official launch of the beta?
That's a good question. So I'll just run that by the team, and I'm sure that that's something that we can set up. I look forward to that.
All right. Well, we'll see what we can do. Anything else that you'd like to add, David? Anything that you want to share, offer, or last words that you'd like to share with everyone watching this?
So yeah, I'd say we're extremely excited to bring HotJar to the public beta, but more importantly, very soon to the public in general. Anyone that's joining the beta is going to be allowed to use for an exchange. Is that you do find a bug, or you have some feedback or thoughts on how we can improve it, just let us know, because we intend to use that feedback. Anyone who does this, we're also going to give you an extra month for free once we do go commercial. And yeah, and we really are excited, looking forward to receiving some feedback and going public.
Well, David, I definitely appreciate the investment of your time. I know that you're on a flight out here shortly to travel all over the world to continue to grow the HotJar brand. And I just want to thank you for helping us with this HotJar review and demonstration. And I'm looking forward to following up with you to see if we can do an interview with you on or a demonstration in greater detail on Monday during the public launch. And I definitely thank you for your time. So if you're watching this, again, thank you. My name is Eric Christopher, and we appreciate you watching the HotJar review and demonstration. And stay tuned for a follow-up update with an actual live demonstration. And please be sure to go visit hotjar.com to get more information and sign up for the beta. So thank you, Dr. David. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Eric. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir.